Hey guys! You've probably noticed over the last few months that I haven't been doing wrap-up or TBR videos, and that is basically because I haven't been reading a lot. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I've been working on my own book, and I just feel like if I start reading other books that I'll either just get out of the mindset of working on my own book, or I'll read the book, love it, and then get really discouraged about working on my own book because I'm a really anxious and nervous person and just don't want that to happen. So while there are a lot of books that I want to read, I've been avoiding them like the plague. And that's really gonna have to stop because now I'm afraid that I'm gonna go so long without reading that I'm never gonna pick up another book again. Because this isn't a reading slump. I'm very interested in the books that I want to read. It's just that my mindset at the moment is like, you're going to read these books, you're going to love them, then you're going to absolutely hate what you're doing for your book, and you're going to want to change stuff that doesn't need to be changed, and that's either going to happen, or I'm going to love these books so much and I'm just going to hate my book and just not work on it anymore. But my point was that I'm not going to be doing any more TBR videos for the time being. I don't know how long that'll last. I may never do a TBR video again because it's kind of freeing just to pick up a random book and just start reading it. I mean, normally if I set a TBR, I like stick to that TBR. But I think if I set a TBR, I'd also feel obligated to read, and reading shouldn't be an obligation. So I'm not making any more TBRs. And as for wrap-ups, I'm not going to be doing them at the end of each month anymore. I'll just, I guess, do them whenever I read a good stack of books. So for this wrap-up, I'm going to be talking about all the books that I read in January, February, and March. I started off January by reading The Forgotten Book, and I still have no clue how to say this author's name. This book follows a girl named Emma who is going to this boarding school, and one day she happens upon this book. And it's not long after she starts writing in the book that she finds out that everything that she's writing is coming true. And this leads them to wanting to find out where the book came from. And there's also a mysterious creature that's mentioned in the book that they're hoping to find out where he is. And they're hoping that if they can find out where this mysterious creature is, that he can help them find Darcy's long-lost sister, who was the person that wrote in the book before Emma. Since it's been a couple months since I read the book, I can't remember my rating. I'll leave it up on the screen, but I'm pretty sure it was like a 4 or 5 stars. And I loved this book so much that I actually picked up The Book Jumper, which is a book that I was interested in, but I was kind of avoiding because I figured that the main protagonist would be following a whole bunch of different storylines and that I just wouldn't like that. But after reading this book and absolutely loving the storyline and the writing style, I was like, I have to get The Book Jumper now. Next up, I read Markswoman, and I really don't know how to say this author's name either. This book follows a girl named Kira who was born with this ability to telepathically connect with these special blades, and that makes her a markswoman. And markswomen are a group of elite warriors. Now, they basically go around from place to place solving problems, or they even go out on assassination jobs. And in their society, they're seen as the government. So it doesn't really sit well with Kira when her mentor dies and she believes she knows who the killer is and they're going to get away with it. So before anything can happen to her, she runs away and ends up in the Order of Kerr, which is the only order that consists of men. I really don't remember any of the ratings I did for these books, so all of them will just appear on the screen. But this book was very slow paced. There was a whole lot of world building, a whole lot of terminology you had to get used to, and all in all, it wasn't a bad book, but I found that it was very predictable, and I didn't really like the fact that we knew who the bad guy was, like, from the very beginning. The last book I read in January was Tempest and Slaughter by Tamara Pierce. But this is a prequel series to one of Tamara Pierce's other series, and I had the intention of reading that series, but then I was like, I'll just read this trilogy, and if I want to continue on with it after that, then that's what I'll do. I'm pretty sure this is a trilogy. It's either a duology or a trilogy. But it's kind of hard for me to summarize this book, so I'm just gonna read the back. Aram Damper is a boy on the path to becoming one of the realm's most powerful mages, the youngest student in his class at the Imperial University of Kartak. I don't know how to say that word. He has a gift with unlimited potential for greatness and for attracting danger. At his side are his two best friends, Varais, a clever girl with an often overlooked talent, and Ozir, the leftover prince with secret ambitions. Together they forge a bond that will one day shape kingdoms, but first they must survive their lessons in magecraft and political intrigue. As Ozir gets closer to the throne and Varais gets closer to Aram's heart, Aram begins to realize that one day soon he will have to decide where his loyalties truly lie. It actually surprised me how much I enjoyed this book. I liked the writing style, I liked the world, I liked our main character, Amir. The only thing I didn't really care for was the fact, besides Varais, I didn't really care for her character at all. But I didn't really like how it jumped around time-wise. If this book had been like the Harry Potter books where it was like a book for each year, I wouldn't have minded. I mean, they couldn't have done a book for each school year because he skipped around so much. And I'm not even sure there's actually a school year in the system because he jumped around so much. But I mean, like, a book like when he was 12, then 13, then 14. And while I would have loved that, I know a lot of people wouldn't have, because this book just goes over like the important stuff that goes on. I imagine that the rest of his days are just, you know, schoolwork and doing everyday kid stuff, where this book just goes over the important parts of his life, like stuff that's changed him, stuff that influenced him, learning the mage craft itself. So it covered all the important parts, and there was truthfully nothing that needed to be added to the story. It's just me wanting to know everything about this character. I believe I said this in my review video, but I did not care for Amir being, I'm calling him Amir again, but his name is Aram. Aram. I am so sorry, I've been saying his name wrong this entire time. But Aram, I don't really like him being romantically involved with Varais, mainly because Varais' character is so... I don't even know how to describe it. I just really don't like her character very much at all. And I feel like him and Ozir have like a lot more cutesy coupley moments, so I would much rather Aram and Ozir get together in the end. Not gonna happen, but you know, I can hope, I can dream. The first book I read in February was Batman Nightwalker by Marie Lu. Now this story takes place when Bruce Wayne is 18 years old. He's still in school, still hanging out with his friends, and just enjoying the teenage life. That is before he tries to catch a criminal and ends up getting himself sentenced to community service. And this community service just happens to be an Arkham Asylum, which, who in their right mind would make an 18-year-old work in an asylum for community service? I don't think they would really make anybody work in an asylum for community service. I don't care what the job is. But it's in this asylum that he meets Madeline, who is a member of the organization that's going around and killing a bunch of wealthy people. And for some reason, Bruce is the only person she'll talk to. So we're drawn into the mystery of who she really is. Did she really do everything that she's being accused of, even though she admitted to doing it? And what is her organization truly after? Now this is the first book I've read by Marie Lu, and I have to say I really did enjoy it, even though it was incredibly short and not as action-packed as I thought it would be. Though I did really like the fact that we were playing the detective, going around, finding clues, trying to wheedle information out of Madeline, and just all in all trying to figure out who was behind all of this without the police's help. The last book I read in February was Red Riding Hood by Sarah Blakley-Cartwright. And this is actually based off a movie. It's like they made the movie and then Sarah went and wrote the book for it. And you can really tell that this was based off a movie, just from the way it's written. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but when I was reading this, it kind of felt like I was reading a script. And I got into like the first part of the book, but it's like after the first like 50 pages or so, I really lost interest in the book. And I did finish reading it. It only took me like 2 days to read it, so it was incredibly fast paced. And who the actual werewolf in the end was very shocking. I didn't see it coming. I was thinking other members of the family may be the werewolf, but I was completely shocked on who the werewolf actually was. I also kind of ticked off with the ending, and there's actually two endings. It's like you read this ending and then there's like an extra chapter that you can read on the website for this book. You get real actual closure. You kind of need to read that ending, but at the same time it's fine if you don't. And from this cover of Little Red Riding Hood holding an axe, I was thinking that she'd be a really badass character that was going to hunt down the wolf for doing whatever he did and end up saving the town. Not what happened at all. If nothing else, she was a very bland character that she was alright, but I don't know. It's like I didn't really care for her character, but at the same time, I didn't care for a lot of the characters, so she was my favorite character. If that makes any sense at all. All in all, even though it only took me 2 days to finish this book, I mean, it was incredibly fast-paced, but the main reason it took me 2 days was the fact that I just wanted to finish it. Now, the one and only book that I read in March was Two Boys Kissing by David Levithan. This book I'm going to talk a lot about, mainly because it caused me a lot of problems at the beginning of the month. I was under the impression that it was just about two boys kissing to break a world record, and while that was included in the story, there was 2 or 3 other side stories going on at the same time. And that would have been fine if the narration wasn't from Death's point of view. Not an actual Death's point of view, but in the dead's point of view. Like, everyone that had died up to this point that was gay was helping to tell the story. Not only did those parts of the book draw me out of the story completely, it's like some of the things that I really thought about and some just didn't make sense, and there were other things that just felt unnecessary. It's like, why is this here? They also did something else to me. Now, I did my life update video before I read this book. I read this book during Zoe's 24-hour readathon, and I was sick that day already and didn't feel like vlogging, so I didn't. But I read this book, or at least read the first 79 pages of the book that day. And during my life update video, I mentioned that I was very anxious, and you know, that basically had to do with my book. I was very anxious about it, but I was also very excited about it. So I don't know, I don't feel like it was like the main reason behind all this, but it was the only thing that had changed over the last 2 weeks that I could say would have been a problem. Because I did have a couple panic attacks while working on the book, so I can't say it hasn't caused me some problems. But after reading this book, the problems that I was having while writing my book multiplied by 100. Those parts where the dead were talking to us actually caused me to slip into depression. Now, I don't say that lightly because I hate to think that a book caused me to have so many mental problems, but I was already having a lot of anxiety, and that could be the main reason that I slipped into a depressive state. All I know is I was reading this book and it happened while I was reading this book. Like, when in the first 2 or 3 pages, I just slipped into a depressive state where I didn't want to eat, I didn't want to get out of bed, I didn't even want the lights to be on. I just wanted to lay there and stare at the wall. And I was thinking about life in general, and it just wasn't a happy mindset. And this went on for about 3 days after I had finished the book. Actually, I didn't even actually finish this book completely. I skimmed like the last, I don't know, 100 pages that was left of it. I don't know. I actually ended up going to the doctor for this problem because after like 4 or 5 days of feeling like this and it just wasn't letting up, it wasn't going away. The only time I got any reprieve at all is when I was sleeping. I was like, I have got to get help. So I'm doing much better now. I've got the help that I needed. This is probably the happiest I've been in years. So this book was detrimental to my health, but I got the help that I needed. I'm good now, and I probably will never, ever pick up a book by David Levithan again because of that. Now, if you're a fan of this book or David Levithan, this isn't an attack on you guys or the author. It's just after the mental state that I was in for a whole week, I can't bring myself to say much good things about this book, and I also don't feel like I need to pick up a book by him anymore. Well, these are all of the books that I read in the months of January, February, and March. I will leave links to the videos I made for these 3 books in the description, and then I'll also make sure I leave the Goodreads links for all of these books. If I do forget to leave any of the links, just let me know in the comments, because I mean, I've been known to do that before. So just let me know and I'll fix it. Let me know what you guys have read over the last few months, and also let me know what your opinions are on the books I mentioned in this video. But that is the end of this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye!